Have you ever wished you lived another life? Have you ever wished you lived another life? How dark has your darkest night ever been? A day, a week, longer? Was it from a loss, the death of someone you loved? Was it from depression, mental illness? Was it from something you did or something that happened to you? Have you ever wished you lived another life? If you have, you're not alone, because I have too. From slavery to mass incarceration, people of color have been convicted in the womb, placed in situations, circumstances where crime-generative factors influence their behaviors. There are over 20 million people in prison in the United States today. They made the worst decisions of their lives in situations of despair, hopelessness. And I am one of these human beings. My birth to an immigrant mother was premature. At 4, I experienced my first harm. At 7, I saw my first death, not in a funeral home, but on the stairway of my building. I lived in the projects, and my friend came to get me to go outside and play. On our way downstairs, we found his brother dead with a needle in his arm, something I never forgot. The same way I never forgot that we never played together again either. About a year later, a friend came to see me to go out inside and play. And when I stepped outside into the hallway, his older brother was there goading him to do it. And he unleashed punches on me that I was not able to respond to, much less to defend. Poverty, danger, and violence were all around me. Because of the trauma I was experiencing at 8, I couldn't keep still. So in school, they locked me in a classroom. At 10, it was broad daylight when an addict stuck a knife to my neck and robbed me. There were adults there. They just watched. No one did anything. Poverty, danger, and violence were all around me. My exposure, experiences of harm growing up was normal and natural. You see, being light-skinned with hazel eyes from an urban environment, they called you soft. You was a pretty boy. You were targeted and suspect for violence. At 18, my father was killed by trying to stop someone else from being murdered. It was at then I told myself, the next time someone hurt me, I would kill him. No more black eyes, no more scars, no more suffering harm, because violence wasn't instinctive to me. I decided to get down and stop lying down. That was the worst decision I made, because I would not have become something I never envisioned for myself, a murderer. I took the life of another lost, misguided young male of color that hit me in the head with a baseball bat. In my heart, I knew I was wrong and ashamed. I realized later that I had suffered from a mental breakdown, from all of the harm and rage that was boiling inside of me, from all over the years that I experienced it. You see, this is how social and racial injustice impacts people of color in a daily way. The poverty, violence, drugs, and despair are like 1,000 little tiny cuts into the psyche, leaving you feeling worthless, hopeless, and on a downward spiral. We are made up of so much more good than bad. I believe more good. And I'm thankful that my parents reminded me that I was better than the worst act that I committed. My parents were my way makers. What I did broke my pop's heart, my Joseph. because he swore to protect me and make sure the system didn't get me, and it got me. But he still came to see me, and he left me cigarettes and put money on my books so that I'd be able to get the things that I needed to survive while in there. My pop made way despite his own shame, his own broken heart. My mother, she made way too. She was strong, she was proud. She had seen me struggle, witnessed the scars and bruises, and saw me keep getting up and keep moving on. When my mother came to see me and she saw me in that cage, she was angry. My mother put money in my books and left me books. She wanted me to learn, to grow, to heal, and to become socially conscious as a male of color in a racially charged world. Together, my parents modeled strength, hope, the power of possibility for a new day. They gave me strength when I was weak. They gave me hope when I was hopeless. And they never let me forget that it wasn't over every time we spoke. My mother provided me with lifelong changing books and literature to expand my mind, my worldview, and ultimately find myself in it. One of the books she brought me was My Ray of Light. It had brothers and sisters on the cover and dashikis with afros. They were in the greenest grass I had ever saw. They had something that I yearned for, I ached for, as I sat in that cold cage of steel. I picked it up and I read that book over and over and over from cover to cover. It was entitled Soul Food, Food for Your Soul. It turned out to be the New Testament. It was then that I let Jesus take the wheel. This was my born-again experience. With the tears pouring down my face from guilt and shame and confessing my sins, God gave me newfound wisdom that was both purging and purifying. A spirit, a new breath of life entered me. A connection to God and his redeeming love changed everything. God saved me, God forgave me, and gave me new life as I had thirst for it. Jesus made way. Thankfully, there were other men who made way for me. First, I must acknowledge the men that also wore green inside these prisons right there with me. They educated me, they inspired me, and they helped me to grow from the boy that entered that prison into a man. There were prison administrators and staff who treated me like a human being and did not judge me for being there and stated that. There were counselors that told me about rehabilitative programs in different prisons, and they helped me get there. There was the Society of Friends, the Quakers. They befriended me. They wrote me. They visited me. When I was younger, my older sisters, they were brilliant. They went through school with a breeze. Me, I just barely graduated. But when in prison, I went back to school, I had a math teacher that I met named Darryl. I took his classes from remedial to pre-calculus, and I received all A's. He helped me get back a part of myself that I kind of never had, self-esteem and confidence. It was learning and reading that helped me escape the apathy and death of prison. It liberated my mind. Here are a few books. I shed tears with George and Jonathan Jackson through Blood in My Eye. A part of my heart died at Wounded Knee. Yes, I was a black boy, a native son, an outsider. How could I not see why the black bird cried? Oops, the caged bird sings. Humbly, I was a miseducated Negro, realizing that there was a conspiracy to counter in destroying black boys. I was the face looking up from the bottom of the well. And can I tell you something close to my heart? Every time my mother sent me a care package, she fed me chicken soup for my soul. Countless ancestors in their writings gave me life for the first time. I found a reason and a purpose for living. Who made way for you when everyone else gave up on you? Who saw the best in you when others could only see the worst in you? Who opened doors for you to go through? Thanks to the unshakable love and sacrifices of those who made way for me, I walked out of prison 25 years later with an unbreakable faith, an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, and a master's. My divinity and humanity helped me to grow from being a con, a prisoner, an inmate, to a person in prison. And it also helped me to see the other, the hack, the guards, and the correction officers as people too. I don't know how it happened, but one day I looked up and all I saw was people in a situation and people with occupations. My restorative transformation and reentry happened because of waymakers. We all need someone to believe in us and exercise their power and their privilege and gifts to make way for us. Be a waymaker by advocating for higher education, therapeutic programs, and family support reunification. Studies have shown that people who gain higher education and maintain close ties with their families in prison have a lower recidivism rate. Consider sponsoring a bus trip to help families visit their loved ones. Create a support group for families who support their loved one in prison. Families need to know that you care about them too. Volunteer to help people in your community obtain access and resources they need to improve themselves and their lives. I wish you become a waymaker. There's nothing more powerful than the will to survive other than someone showing up with compassion and conviction to help someone find their way. Will you embrace a brother or sister that is in prison by writing them, communicating with them, and letting them know that you care? Will you embrace a brother or sister, a human being, when they are released? Help them obtain a job, help them find housing, help them get a fresh start. This is what a restorative reentry looks like. It starts for a person in prison and continues when they are out. This is what made my reentry successful. Someone cared and exercised their power, their privilege to help me find my way. When community members come alive, miracles do happen. I was asked what I wanted to do now that I was out. I shared that my mother was a social worker and that I wanted to get my master's in social work too. Not only did I get my master's in social work, but I was chosen in 2015 to give my class benediction. I went from Attica prison, the worst hell you can imagine, to standing on stage at one of the most prestigious universities in the country, Fordham University, giving the benediction. I was able to accomplish this and other successes in my life because people made way. They saw me as human. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "When evil men plot, good men must plan. When evil men bomb and burn, good men must build and bind. When evil men shout ugly words of hatred, good men must commit themselves to the glories of love. Where evil would seek to perpetuate an unjust status quo, good men must bring into being a real order of justice." This is your challenge to being a good human being. Add your good to the world and exercise your power, your privilege. There's someone that needs you. Please be a waymaker. Thank you.